Hi, it's time for the High Sparkle Dragons race. So this is basically the Hadge that isn't Hadge, but this is the new heroic dragon with Soul Primary, Legend, Electric / Energy, depending on which dragon game you come from, and Sea / Water. But High Sparkle is just a regular heroic, so don't let the Hadge appearance fool you. Of course, it's for the 4th of July themed eventing, but as you will see, this is a regular heroic race. It will last for 11 days, but it's not going to be the same as the heroic marathons that we've been having recently. Instead, this follows the typical heroic race fashion of questing rather than the crazy marathon versioning. But I will be going through how to do every single quest type for this event, and also the new collections and basically all the new stuff that came out and happened today. Because there is, usually when we get a new heroic race, we have a lot of other stuff that also comes along with it. But anyway, lap 2, here we go. As you can see, I have not been logging in as of yet because I have not had the time yet today. I've literally just gotten back in the house and immediately come to do my heroic race stuff. But for the heroic races, what you need to do to get your hands on High Sparkle is either you need to come first in your race, and you can see that we have a ranking with 8 players. I'm currently in 3rd, even though I've done nothing pretty much. But either you need to come first in the race, or if you get all the way up to lap 15, you can guarantee this dragon. And this is my recommended thing to do because getting lap 15 is not all that difficult. Even if you are busy like 9+ hours a day every day and you sleep as normal, you can still do lap 15. The question really is whether lap 18 is doable, because lap 18 gives plus 500 orbs. If you can get to lap 18 and do the quest, you can easily get an E4 dragon. But we do also have a skin on the way as well. I don't mind the skin too much. Of course, it's the typical American theme, and then we have like a purple thotty skin if you get up to lap 17 there. But I would recommend lap 15 plus if you can, and obviously your placement determines which other dragons you get. But to get all of this stuff, you of course need to do the quests. So like I said, we will do those in a moment. The other things that we have today are the Summer Nights collection, which is very similar to the previous Found Family collection. All that you need to do is collect some of these monument souvenirs from the currently ongoing events, and then you can get your hands on the monument dragon, which is, yeah, it's Duraludon. If for anyone that's played Pokemon. Yeah, I know, it's Duraludon, but American themed, okay? But you can get the dragon just for 10 of these items. If you want to get a bonus 560, you'll need to get 30 of them. But honestly, should be really easy to get the 10 as long as you just get the dragon. You can get some perks, Joker Orbs, Trade Essence, but the dragon is the main reward there. We do also have 4th of July stuff, and you can get these fireworks from like the ads, for instance. But essentially, you can get mythical orbs, you can get orbs for the dragon, and you can get the actual heroic himself and a phoenix orb. So it's not too bad if you do that. We do have the new arena, of course, which is the same as usual, but in this you can get your hands either on a heroic, you can get your hands on mythical, legend. I remember that not many people got Bug Blaze when he was first released. I did get him, and he went on like my stat card for rarest dragons, so I always remember him. But anyway, that was off topic. But those are the main other collections that we've got going on. Just while I'm here, I'm actually going to open up these as well, just because, you know, we've been getting stuff from the events, and I've got my big chests to open. So I'm really hoping for a non-dupe. Give me Cosmos. Please give me Cosmos, I'm begging you. Or Praetor. That really, really sucks. GG, go next, I suppose. Well, at least it is one of them, right? That is a duplicate, so I'm going to have to either rank it up and then recall, or just flat out recall and trade the orbs out, but I guess we'll have to get a duplicate some other time, or a non-duplicate at a different time. The other chest we've got is this one. Let's open it up and see what we get. Okay, so we basically got the 2 worst drops that we possibly could have gotten out of these major chests. GG, go next, and that is what we shall do indeed. So, we've got that heroic race. We do also have a grid event on today. And with this grid event, you don't really need a guide for grid event. I'll be honest with you, I normally make them, but I've been too busy for an outright, like, made-up photo guide. Essentially, the reason why you don't need a guide is because all that you'll be doing is just making your way over to the items. Like, you don't really need a guide just to tell you to go to the items And obviously the way through is by these dragons. As you can see, he's the only path that you can take. And then if you want the berserker insignias, you go down. If you want the monument as well, you're going up. And then you're going to go down again, and then you're going to go up again. So there's no real guide this time around, because my recommendation would be the event items. And the reality is you're probably not making it up to here anyway with the amount of currency that we have. So my advice with the grid event is literally just get whatever you can and whatever you're focusing on, whether that be the monument souvenirs, whether that be the berserker and the ascended insignias, but just pick up the event items on your way through, because the dragons are not very good and they are all repeat duplicate dragons that we've seen many times before. So just walk over to the items and pick them up, literally. You don't need more of a guide than that. Anyway, that is most of this new stuff. Of course, if you're ever confused about any new events or anything else, you can check the news section and just be like, oh, look, here's a cool habitat. But of course, you've got to buy that. I do really like this habitat, though. It's a very, very cool 4th of July habitat bundle, but it is still paid stuff. But of course, with the offers, I'd always suggest checking them, even if you are free to play like me, just in case there is anything exciting going on at the moment. But as you can see, there's not really too much of note. £10 though for a habitat? It's very expensive. But anyway, that is all of the other stuff. Of course, we have the event itself. And so, we're going to be going through how to do every single one of these tests. You'll see that I just did a battle earlier, because whenever the cooldown's done, we go into our battle. But for this one, we've got feeding dragons. And feeding dragons is super duper easy. All that you need to do is get a terror dragon. So the way that you'll do that is make sure that you've got an empty hatchery. Go, press gold, click 100, and then a terror dragon egg will start the hatching process. So I'm going to hatch this terror dragon here, and then we are just going to feed him up. The reason you do this is because it will cost you the least amount of food if you do it this way. So you just need to keep going until you see the confirmation of the leaderboard points being given to you, and then you can cancel out. Then we've got the next one, which is collecting food and collecting gold. Now, let's do collecting gold first. Collecting gold is literally, once you see the symbol above the habitats, click it. And if you don't have many habitats, just put a terror habitat full of terror dragons, like fill it up with terrors, and then just feed them up a little bit. And then whenever you see the gold symbol, the fuller the habitat is, the more likely you are to get an item. So I'd always recommend trying to leave at least some of your habitats without being collected, just so that then if you get another gold collecting task, you can do it straight away. Like, I can just do it instantly by just like clicking a couple of habitats, no problem. So that would be my recommendation. Of course, you can collect from your food habitats, but the rest of them, I'm going to leave those for now. But that one is done. Next one we have is getting item by collecting food. This one is also quite a simple task, but it is very, very annoying. Because what you'll need to do for this task is you see all these different food options. The only one you want to be using is bluebell bouquets. And even though these have the shortest timer on them, so that you can avoid filling up your farms, there is only about a 10% chance of getting an item each time you collect from them. So even if you only have to collect like 6 items, 10 items, that can take you a lot of collections, because as you can imagine, if each of your farms only has a 10% chance each time, it can take ages to actually get this task done. And also, I did set all of these up as bluebell bouquets on mobile, but as you can see, it goes back and only uses your previous PC settings. Even if you swap platforms, it's going to use that current platform's last farmed item. So make sure you don't make the mistake that I used to make when I first started playing heroic races, where you accidentally put in the 1-day food. That is the worst thing that you can do. Same with any long breeding or anything else, and just filling up your, your hatcheries and such. You really don't want to do that. So even though I've collected from all of these farms so far, you'll see that I'm still sitting at 0 out of 6. And that is literally just the way that it is. Sometimes you will collect from these 20 times and get nothing. You just have to keep doing it over and over again. And I really like waiting until all my farms are available at once, typically, just because it's less annoying. I'd have to use less button presses then. I have to look at the game a bit less, because if you're waiting for like your farm timers to go, at least you can do something else, like use another monitor, watch something, talk to someone. Whereas if you're sitting here trying to collect like every 2 seconds, you've got to keep the game open, you've got to keep clicking. I don't actually like this split like this, but of course it's up to you. However the heck you want to do it, as long as it doesn't impact on your event progress, That is all that matters. But while I'm collecting these, I will say that the most important thing, you can know how to do all these tests optimally. We'll go into the pools as well, of course. But the most important thing for doing the best that you can in these events is logging in frequently and diligently. And what I mean by that is if you know that there is a pool timer that you're waiting for, you log in as soon as you can, as soon as that pool timer is done. And the event is 11 days long. So how your placement is looking right now on day one doesn't actually matter. What matters is what your placement is in 11 days from the start of the event. So even if you look like you're behind right now, like if I go, oh my god, they're on lap 4, I'm so far behind. That doesn't matter. What matters is what your placement's going to be right at the end. And if you're getting to lap 15 anyway, where your opponents get doesn't really matter unless you really need the dragons for the heroic combat quests. But if you don't need the dragons for the heroic combat quests, then it literally makes no difference. You just get to lap 15, GG, you're done. So bear all of that in mind when you are considering this race. We do also have this spinner skip. And this is random as to whether you get a 1-item skip, a 2-item skip, a 5-item skip, a node skip, or a quest skip. I'd recommend using these specifically on battle quests. If you can't do your league battles, you should use it on them. If you can do your league battles, which you should be able to do regardless of what your player level is ideally, then instead use them on the battle quests. That's where you'll use them. And this is making me really, really scared because we're already at 3 out of 6. So I'm actually going to do something I wouldn't normally do, but lap 2, node 2. I'm going to check if there is actually a pool on this because I guess we'll go into pools now quite early on. You'll see that on Ditlep, you should use either Ditlep, Deetlist, or any other guides while you are using, while you're going through this event. You always want to have the guides open and active, and that is so that you can check the pools like I'm about to do right now. Like, I'm not getting an item, and I'm thinking, like, is there a pool on this for some reason? So I'll open up Ditlep, I'll go to my current lap and current node. Lap 2, node 1, you saw we just did that, and it says that minimum time, which is the most important one to look at, there is no minimum, which means we don't have to wait for any amount of time. We can get all 8 items straight away. The next one we have is lap 2, node 2, and as you can see, the collect gold, no minimum. Collect food, no minimum. So it says we can collect all 6. However, if that said that there was a minimum timer and that there is a wait timer for each item, then we know that we can't just keep doing this and expect to get an item. But as you see, we just got really unlucky the first few collects, and now we've done that quest. So I'll move back on to the pools in a second. The next quest that we've got here is league battles. And like I said, if you can't do your league battles whatsoever, you can consider using the skip on those. But I wouldn't recommend it for the first one, for instance, because it's only one battle and that would just be a massive waste. But what I do recommend is that you have an actual league team to begin with, because not having dragons that you can actually do all of this with, do your league battles with, will make your races very, very expensive. And having an expensive heroic race is the opposite of what you want. Like, just think, if you don't have to spend a lot of gems on the race, then you can save them for other things. You can save it for the heroic quests and things like that. So ideally, you don't want to be wasting your gems for no reason. And it looks like this High Master Karma Dragon is just sitting there healing. Oh, come on, Sinful, beat him up, please. There we go. Finally, he beat him up. But that gets our 1 win on this league battle, as you can see there. So we move on to the next node. And with your league battles, the other thing I should probably mention is that you see we've got 3 combats of energy, so I've got 2 left. And once I finish this battle here, I will actually get 3 more energy. So technically, I actually have 4 energy total, or I would have in this reset. So definitely don't spend your league battles until you move on to the next league battle actual node. But anyway, got lap 2, node 4, and we've got get items by collecting food and getting items from battles. So again, with the collecting food, we are just going to pop in all of our food once again. We only got 1 item. And then the getting items from battles, this is the one that I'd suggest skipping with that special skip spinner thing. I've never decided on a name that I like for it. So it's the spinner skip thingamabob. And with the spinny skip thingamabob, don't use it this early on. up to about lap 5, I'd recommend just saving it for now. Yeah, you're not being efficient time-wise, or it might not feel like that. But the reason why I'd save it is because you will run into these battle nodes that are like 5+ soon enough, or 4+, and you can use it on 4 instead of just one battle, for instance, instead. So with this one, with your getting items from battles, you can just skip this straight away, or you can go into the fight and then skip it for 2, which is cheaper, so this would be the one that you click. Alternatively, before you click any gemming, skipping for anything, what I'd recommend is, again, you go to Ditlep. We just did lap 2 node 3, so we don't need to worry about that one. Lap 2 node 4, so we have this one here, which is collecting food and battling dragons. And you'll see that if you want to skip the battle timer right now, because like, oh, it's only 2 gems and it's only 13 minutes, you'll actually have to skip both the battle timer and you'll have to skip at least one of the food collecting. And that is because there is actually a pool on this food collection section. So we're at 5 out of 7 right now, and on Ditlep you'll see that it says that for collect food we have 7 items that we need. There is a pool of 6, which means that we have a wait timer of 19 minutes. And what that means is that that final item, because we can only get 6 at once, will spawn in 19 minutes. So I've explained this for every single race and so many times, but essentially imagine that you have like a basket full of food and there's 6 of those at once, and you right now you're trying to pick out 6 of them, right? And there aren't 7 of them, so you can't pick out 7 of these food items from the basket all at once. Someone else from the supermarket, I don't know, needs to put another one of those food items inside the basket so that then you can take it, right? So right now we cannot get another item. Like, no matter how many times we sit here clicking this, we cannot get another food collecting item. We just have to wait for 20 minutes. Alternatively, what we can do right now, we could skip finish node with 5. We could skip just the 2. We can go and click 4 and then click 2, which would be 6, which is obviously more expensive than the 5. And then we can go into this fight. We can skip it with 2, for instance, and then we just finish off the battle node, and then we go and skip the food collecting as well. So there are lots of different pricing on everything, and as you can see now, because I did that battle and I skipped that for 2, now we can skip for 1, which is cheaper than the other options. So there's a lot of different numbers to look at, and they're very basic numbers, but make sure that you are doing it properly. Now, we have lap 2 node 5 here, which is getting items by feeding dragons and getting items by breeding. And again, the feeding one, we love them. We love the feeding ones. So we're just gonna get Bonzo here. We're gonna feed him up. We're gonna get as many beetles as we possibly can, and then once we stop seeing the beetles popping up, the little blue beetles, we know that that's as many as we can get, so then we can sell him. The other quest that we've got here is breeding, and breeding, hatching are some of the most annoying quests you will come across in this event. And so there are a couple of different ways you can handle the breeding. You'll see that I've got 2 breeding dens right next to my hatchery, and that is on purpose. Ideally, in a really optimal island, you would actually have all of them here, so that then you can use this island as well to pop into the hatchery. But I only use 2 of mine during heroic races so that I can do stuff with my 3rd one. But what you want to be breeding together during these breeding quests, as annoying as it's going to be, majority of the time you are going to want to breed non-empowered Terra dragons. This is the classic Terra X Terra, and that can be a regular Terra or it can be double Terra, but as long as the only possible outcome is a Terra dragon, that is what you want. You click breed, you wait, and then you pop that egg into your hatchery. And the moment where you pop that egg into your hatchery is where you'll find out whether you get an item or not. And you're not guaranteed an item when you do Terra breeding, because there's actually only a 10% chance of getting an item when you breed Terras. So you might have to do that 50, 60 times before you get even a single item. It's just like the food collecting. It's annoying. We hate it. It's the bane of everyone's existence when they do the heroic races, but it is what it is. So as you can see, we're doing it over and over and over again. The other thing that you can do with these breeding and hatching quests that come up, however, is you'll see I've got in this breeding den next to it. I'd normally be putting Terra breeding in that breeding den as well, but I've just got an existing pre-breed from before the event. So What you can do is if you have a timer over about 9 hours, it's either guaranteed or very, very, very close to guaranteed to give you an item. And so people use this to their advantage, and this breed right here is like 20 something hours long, so we're gonna get an item. So like if I click this, there you go, we get a guaranteed item. I'm gonna get a new dragon, but I don't want to fill up my hatchery too much with all these extra eggs if I can help it, because we are gonna come across more breeding and hatching quests. And as you can imagine, if you fill up your hatchery and breeding dens with really long timers, there's nothing that you can do. If you do have timer skips like I do for being, well, it's mostly free to plays, but some pay to wins do have them as well. So if you've got the skips in game, then you can actually like put in a ward dragon egg, or a slightly longer egg might be in your breeding den, for instance, and then you can skip it, and then you can get yourself a guaranteed item rather than having to do terror breeding 5 million bajillion times, because as you can see, I'm just not getting an item for this terror breeding. And again, it is normal to have to do it 20 or 30 times. What you can do to just make sure you're not wasting your time when you're breeding is make sure you open up DitLab and check to see if there is any minimum wait timer. In this case, there is not. There is a pool of 2, which means that we can collect both of the items, but we do have to wait 40 minutes for the feeding dragon section, unless we decide to skip it. And I know a lot of people early on, they tend to skip things so that they can make some good progress early on, but only spend gems if you can afford it and if that is what you actually want to do. I've got this other breed going on as well, so I'm going to pop this one. You can see that that was another +1 because it was a long timer. And in the second breeding den, I do not want to be popping these 2 in, so in advance, so that I don't accidentally misclick that, I'm going to pop in terrors into the second breeding den also, and then I'm gonna have to put them in that one as well. But that is the breeding task done, and as you can see, if I want to skip the feeding section and don't want to wait 40 minutes, I can skip with 2, which I'm gonna do it right now just because I'm with you right now. And we got now on lap 3, and we get a free dragon, so that's cool. But there we go, now we are doing repeating quests here. So we've got collecting gold, collecting food again. So it is the classic collecting gold, collecting food. And as you can see, since you're going to be doing the same quests over and over and over again, using Speedy and Greedy, the tower that collects all food and collects all gold, I don't recommend using him very much during this event. The only time that you should really use Speedy and Greedy is if you're going to be AFK, like away from your game for many, many hours. So if you're going to school, if you're going to work, I don't know, if you're just having a day out and you're not going to be no-lifing it on the game, then you can, you know, click him then, I suppose. And the same thing applies when we're talking about the breeding and hatching. Yes, if you are going to be super diligently logging in and you're not sleeping or whatever, then you should be using, say, Terra X Terra the whole time. But if you are going to be sleeping, you could maybe put in a longer timer. But just be aware that if you do that with your breeding dens, it will still clog your hatchery. So like I've got 2 slots taken up in my hatchery right now, which could be a problem. It will slow down progress, but I need to make sure that I don't fill it up any more than it's already been filled. So there is that. But anyway, as long as you know that the Terra X Terra endless breeding is your friend, that is the main thing to take away from this. And it is more or less exactly the same when it comes to hatching quests as well, but instead of you having to go ahead and breed them, instead what you do is what you do for the feeding task. You go into the hatchery, an empty slot, you go get egg, gold, and then you do that. And then once you've got the Terra egg ready, you click place, and then once you click into the habitat, that's the point where you'll find out whether you actually got an item or not. So that is how you know, once you click to put the dragon down, whether you've gotten that 10% drop or not. So breeding, hatching is very, very similar. It's all using Terra dragon eggs, but fundamentally the idea behind heroic races is that you use the shortest timers on everything that you can, unless you're going to be away from keyboard for a long time, just so that then you can keep making progress. Because like if I put in 1 day food now, that's it. We are just stuck for 24 hours on lap 3 node 1. We can't make any progress and our life will suck. So you don't want that to be you. It seems I've just knocked my bin over. That was all that was. Don't mind that. The other thing I do want to mention about this heroic race is that one thing you want to be aware of is the leaderboard events, because getting nodes in the heroic race does actually give you bonus points in the leaderboard, and using your grid coins also gives you bonus points in the leaderboard event. So if you want to get your hands on Warthorn Dragon Orbs and also allies emblems and food boxes, you want to be doing as well as you possibly can in every single event going on right now. So you can't just like half-ass it. You can't just only do the heroic race, for instance. If you want to get everything from the leaderboard event, you're going to have to be doing the heroic race, you're going to have to be doing the grid event and any other upcoming events that impact any of the other leaderboard events and such. But anyway, I'm going to reopen Ditlep again, and we are going to go on to lap 3, and you'll see no cooldown, no minimum, and then there's going to be another set of league battles, which is why we save our league battle cooldown, and then we're going to have no minimum on the collecting food, so more collecting food to do, and then we are going to have a battle dragon section with ×3, so we are going to have to wait probably once, and then we can maybe skip the second time, or we just wait for both of them because they're quite short to begin with. Then node 4, we're going to have a 30-minute wait, and I'd recommend waiting for that one, to be honest. Then lap 3, node 5, no minimum, so then you'd be able to pretty much after 30 minutes, like do the battles, wait 30 minutes, go to lap 4, no minimum, 1 hour 15 minutes, and you see that that one's getting to 4 now. At lap 4, we're getting to 4 battles, so you can start considering either using your skip on that one, or possibly the 4 league battles that are going to come up if you don't have your race set ready for that. And then you're going to have more battles on lap 4, node 5 as well. So maybe from lap 4, it might be a good idea to start using that special spinner skip. That would be my general recommendation from 4+. Anyway, whenever it works best for you. But Ditlep seems to be accurate for the most part so far. That being said, Ditlep has been wrong before, and some of the other guides out there have been known to be wrong as well, but I would say open them up, see if they work for you, see if the item amounts look correct, see if the cooldowns seem correct, and if they do, well, you might as well use them, because otherwise you're just going to be going into this event completely in the dark. You're not going to know what any of the cooldowns are, you're not going to be playing efficiently, so it's really, really important for the later laps that you definitely use a guide. Early on, you can predict that most of the quests either have no cooldown, or they might only have like a 30-minute cooldown or something. But imagine if between every single one of these quests we'd left for half an hour to then come back. Like, one, that's really annoying and takes up all of our time IRL away from IRL things, so screw that. And then secondly, there's no need. You can just keep making progress if you just have a guide open. So even though this is a guide, use the other guides at the same time, because it's really, really important that you don't waste your time when you're going through these events. Otherwise, you will be overtaken, and plus, you won't get to as high of a lap as you want. And getting to lap, the lap with the 500 orbs is not going to be super easy. You will have to be diligently logging in for the entire event and doing everything that you can, and possibly gemming a little bit on the battles, for instance, to be able to actually make it to that point. So we've got insignias as well on the way through, but if you want to get those 500 orbs, you have to be diligently logging in. So don't get lazy, log in when you should, and I'm sure you'll make it. Even if you're really busy during the day like I am, again, it's possible to make it. Although this one's slightly different to before, so it's going to be possible. I'm not sure exactly how possible in comparison to the previous versions of events like this. They typically always do like mini changes, little tiny mini changes, and so if you're not aware of them, I can see that taking people by surprise completely. But just log in as often as you can. Try and be smart with your gem spending. Like I said, there's different costs everywhere. Don't ever click this finish node unless it's a really cheap amount, like less than 10 ideally. But league battles will soak up your gems. Battle nodes will soak up your gems if you don't wait for them. And if you ever see a battle node, you can like wait until there's only an hour left sometimes. If not, the recommendation is to do all of your battles until the final battle and then skip that one with gems, because that's typically the longest one out of the bunch. Not always, but if you ever come across those battle ones like Battle Dragons number 5, pool 5, and then normally it's best to log in for those first 4 battles and then skip the 5th one. Usually, not always, but you'll have to wait and see once you get there and see how cheap it is to work it out for every single node, of course. But anyway, I guess that is my general guidance for this event. As usual, I've uploaded guides for every single heroic race, I think, since I came back to the game a long time ago. The only other thing I haven't really mentioned today is that your boy Sinful is in the Wizard's Hollow. And now, if you're considering it, spending gems on this Wizard's Hollow, I don't think it's the worst idea, but we do have the heroic race on, so try and not make any ridiculously stupid gem spending decisions in the Wizard's Hollow. But I will say that I think that Sinful Vampire, he's been an incredibly good asset to me since I started playing again. Like, genuinely, I still use him all the time. Anyone that tells you vamps aren't good, seriously, he has been such a good option to me as a new player, and vampires are harder to get now. So there is no better candidate for a very cool Wizard's Hollow dragon than a dragon that is very useful, and a dragon that is my only dragon that I will ever take to level 70. So he will always be the number one in my heart, but for now, I guess I will leave you there. I wish you the very best of luck with your Hollow. I wish you the very best of luck with your leaderboard event and your heroic racing leaderboard, but definitely, if you can spend like a couple hundred gems, it would probably be worth it, but it depends on how many you have for the race. So if you really want to do well in the race, prioritize the race. If not, I don't know, maybe slap down a cheeky 15, see if you get a good run, then maybe go for your boy here, but he would be a good drop if you manage to get lucky. So best of luck to you. For now, I'm gonna go chill out and eat, so have fun.